Good evening. Welcome aboard another out-of-this-world episode of PB3. Early in my time as pastor at St. Mark, I made a, surprise, surprise, Star Trek reference in one of my sermons. And after the service, the Trekkies that were apparently in the congregation made their presence known to me. There were so many that we started a ministry, now 8 years running, that we call Star Trek Saturday, a quarterly gathering in which we meet at a member's home for dinner, evening prayer, Star Trek trivia, and the viewing of an episode, after which we discuss the theology, the concepts, or the ethics in the episode, and how our faith approaches such things and responds to them. Uniforms are encouraged, of course. Today would have been our next gathering, but restricted as we are to our respective quarters, we do so instead virtually. The episode I have chosen for this session is one called The Naked Time. It's the 7th episode of the original series, and in addition to being a personal favorite of mine, it is, I think, one of the more popular offerings. It's a particularly pertinent episode for us because it is about an alien virus that infects the crew of the Enterprise. In addition to the physiological problems the virus causes, it also psychologically affects the infected crew members, removing their inhibitions and mental safeguards and laying naked their deepest, if unrealistic, aspirations and desires, usually to the extreme detriment of their shipmates. Well, in addition to the irrational acting out that leads to the spread of the virus, the storyline includes a number of other parallels to our current experience with the coronavirus. First, observing the mysteriously dead science team on the alien planet at the beginning of the episode, Spock presciently proclaims, "It's like nothing we've dealt with before." Further, subjects show few, if any, initial symptoms, and medical examinations reveal nothing abnormal at first. The disease spreads quickly among people in an enclosed environment like a starship, and it's later revealed that the virus is passed through droplets, and specifically in this case, perspiration. Now, watching it today, there are certainly some almost laughable aspects to the episode that I think reflect the time in which it was made and, of course, serve the plot. No shelter-in-place order when it's realized a contagion is aboard. Crewmen do not wear personal protective equipment when handling people known to be infected, this kind of thing. But the very realistic thing that I want to point out today is that it is one person's terrible lack of judgment that sets all of this in motion and leads to near catastrophe. It's really a comically terrible lapse in judgment. A presumably highly trained Starfleet science officer wearing a hazmat suit on an alien planet in which the science team stationed there is found mysteriously dead. This officer is so careless as to remove his glove to scratch his nose, and then forgets to put the glove back on and touches a contaminated surface. Good grief. But in these days of ours, days of pandemic and a very contagious virus, the reality is that potentially all that stands between us and catastrophe is one lapse in judgment. Not only by us, but lapses by anyone around us. At work, at the store, the gym, at church, wherever. One. 8 years as a health inspector before going to seminary, I saw these lapses in judgment, these moments of absent-mindedness, all the time. It happens. Over time, even the strangest of situations can become routine, and this can lead to complacency. So whenever we have to or choose to venture out, let us do so not with fear, but with vigilance. After all, it is not only your life you are protecting, it is that of your crew as well. As Paul writes in the letter to the Ephesians, be careful then how you live, not as unwise people, but as wise. May God's blessings be upon you now and in the days ahead, that you may indeed live long and prosper.